Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is the 28th of November. Everybody, I hope, had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We got a good crew in today. The rest that didn't make it, they're still OD'd on turkey and tryptophan. So there you go. Anyway, we have got some videos here in the club to share. And Tom, why don't we start with your video? Tell us about it, and then what have you got?
Okay, in May of this year, Chuck Hill organized the Rite of Silence, which recognizes community members that have either been injured seriously or died in bicycling related accidents. And so he asked me if I wouldn't mind taking photographs, and Monica was gonna have her hair done. She finished her hair appointment early, and so she grabbed her camera, or so her camera that looks like this,
Yes.
and
Camera and cell
and jumped in her car and got ahead of the pack. It was taking shots from different angles that I was catching, and did a great job on interviewing a couple of folks that rode in the Rite of Silence.
Okay.
And so it's a little long, but it's mainly intended for the people who rode, in part to be able to see themselves and to remind them of why they were in the ride to begin with.
Okay. Now, was that in this Green Valley area?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it started out at the GVR East Center.
Okay.
And what they did was a 7-mile loop that took them up Esperanza, La Cañada, over Duval Mine Road, and
back to Abreu.
and back to Obrego, yeah, and back to the club.
Pretty cool.
So the ones who died very silent. Is that what you're saying?
Jeez.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you very much for that.
Man.
Fred was my one of my best friends, and I was like a father-son relationship. We trained for 8 years together, and so when he died, it was tragic. He died on my birthday. And, died on a route that we've ridden many times. So, and it's a sad that he's gone. Really sad, especially for his family and 3 kids. And the nicest story on him is 3 or 4 weeks before he died, he rescued a kid in a wash, Patana wash. It was in the paper. Look in the paper. He rescued a 12-year-old boy in the rapids, and how the crazy shit is. Mm-hmm. And he rescued him. And Fred used to be a deep sea rescue diver, and he jumped into that yucky water and saved this kid, and they didn't think he would live. Wow. That was about a month before he died. Yeah, I miss him all the time. Yeah, for sure. this is the first time I've done it in Green Valley because we used to be part-time here. Now we're full-time, so I'll be doing it every year. But it's a real memory of a lot of the riders that have lost their lives or been seriously hurt, and I think it's a real honor for them. It's a nice ride, fantastic ride actually.
Great,
It's
great.
really quiet. You don't talk to anybody, and you don't have to worry about the traffic. And my wife Ann rode with me this year. That's the first time she's ever ridden in the Ride of Silence, and she said she absolutely loved it. So
Good.
I'm sure we'll do it every year.
What do we think?
Yeah, really fine.
I like the interviews and how they just
Yeah.
slip right in with the pictures at the appropriate spot. My big question was, how did you do it? What program did you use? I love the way the stills hung over the video in the background. And
I used Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Yeah, the freebie, so.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
I'm amazed by what you can do with it.
Yes, sir.
At the beginning, the reading section was on the right, and I would read each one of those, and I'd only get about halfway
Yeah.
through, and then it would change. So I'm wondering, is the timing of how long they'll stay on controlled by one setting that you make for the whole program? That is gonna only last, let's say, 5 seconds and then go to the next slide in 5 seconds?
you should-
No, I actually tried to stretch it out for the longer passages. And actually, if you notice, I think that was version 99.
Yeah.
And the earlier versions, I was actually scrolling the text and found out that, wait a minute, people are gonna have to sit there and do this number and not being able to pay attention to the photo
Yeah.
that accompanies the text. So last night I changed it out to keep the text stationary. But yeah, I probably need to put a little bit more time on those longer passages especially.
So do people normally time each slide based on how long that slide needs to be up? Or are they always consistently the same amount of
No.
time before the next one comes up?
I'll usually talk it through and just voice out the slide to figure out if I've given it enough time. I must have been talking too fast though.
Well, this piece cries out for narration. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Well,
The text is just too much text, and the old rule on text is read it twice. If you can read it twice up on the screen, that's how long it ought to be. But this was just, I just thought this was a wonderful piece. And what you did that was really neat was you allowed everybody, the audience, your audience, always know your audience. The audience is the people who are in it, and you allowed every person to go down. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they're looking for. I thought that was
Yeah.
just the best part.
Oh, great, thanks.
That was really good. And it's the music got a little discordant. It wasn't, the beginning it was fine. The piano was perfect for this in the mood, but after a while, that if you listen to those chords in that piano, but I know this is a tearjerker. I have no idea that many people have been killed
Or heard.
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
hurt. Except Chuck Huckleberry, and that was a
Yeah.
good film.
Wow, gee, you Phil dropping the hammer.
Oh, I
Man.
really thought that was good.
The side by side is very effective.
Yeah, the incorporation. Go ahead, Monica.
What about the first part with the music, what Phil was talking about, and then you get to where they're writing, you just lower the volume of the music? Or change it altogether?
I think it's just more of I would say it's more of a thing of it's in a sense, it's a repeating pattern of the music. And so there's no changing in the music itself. So
Okay.
meaning if you found a different piece that would have some solo piano, but there's some variation in.
But
what's
you had the
going on.
right mood.
Yes, I would
Yes,
agree. The
definitely.
music was great.
And that just, it was a tearjerker. I just thought it was great.
And you're right about some of those passages in the music and everything. It does get discordant. You know, where there's some sharps or flats in there that kind of
Well, it just,
take away from it a little bit.
it's just kind of that repeating, to me, it's that repeating pattern of the music is just the same all the way throughout. I don't really know if it's the beginning or the end, meaning that. But again, music is a very subjective, but I think if you found a piece that would just have a little bit more. It could have the solo piano and then it takes a melody, goes somewhere and then whatever.
It was great at the beginning. I
Yeah,
just thought, wow, this really fits.
So
And
probably
you were
needed
telling
to,
the story.
so it sounds like maybe what I ought to do is pick up a different theme from when the ride starts.
It's minor.
It's pretty. I don't even know.
Yeah, I thought it was
Let's
pretty.
say when you have an interview, somewhere in there. You're listening to the person's voice and then change the music.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Use that as an opportunity to
change.
change up the music background.
And the
Possibly.
story of the guy who had rescued the child.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
What
and
a,
that was Monica.
what a
catching,
killer story.
Catching the writers on her cell phone and everything,
Yeah,
doing
that
a video off her cell phone.
No,
Good.
videos were off
how
my
long
cell
was
phone.
that piece? About 5 minutes, 6 minutes,
8,
8
It
minutes?
didn't seem like.
just
It didn't seem like it.
about 8 minutes,
It
so.
didn't seem like it at all.
No. it
No,
didn't.
Yes, Todd, come on up. Come on up so they can hear you on Zoom.
Yeah, just one comment on the very end, you were showing the photos on the right with the video in the background. It was I thought it was a black screen for too long. Is there another photo coming up? So I think when you get to that last photo, then you could just fade that whole box out and then it'll just be the video
Oh,
in the
where
background.
the
Yeah.
fire trucks going
Yeah,
by?
because there was a black
Yeah.
screen up there for probably 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out a way of actually bringing that fire truck and growing it, so to speak, in the image.
Yeah, in Da Vinci, you could take that box and just have it zoom out or something on you.
Either that or throw another photo in that spot
Yeah.
like I did. Yeah.
And there's a Where's Waldo moment in your film. Did you know that?
Where's Waldo? Well, first off, who's Waldo that I need to worry about where he is?
You don't know Waldo? Anyway, there's a soldier. In
Oh,
the
yes.
lower right hand,
With the bike.
and I didn't know who that's a where's Waldo? When you have a mystery image in there. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there's one.
There was
image.
somebody that had a uniform on, was staying with a bike and the.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hang on.
near the end of the ride, right?
No, this was at the
Don't
beginning.
see
Hang
why.
on. Hang on.
I saw a Navy uniform.
Well, yeah.
No, well, Navy,
Not looked
No.
like Army, but I don't know.
no, we had military people writing this.
Okay, so they were wearing their
But I,
uniform.
they're not supposed to be riding in uniform.
I thought it was really clever.
I can't find
They're
it.
not supposed to be riding in uniform.
No.
No,
Really?
That's
He had
supposed
to
do
get
public
permission.
events.
Huh.
Without permission.
Okay, I
Oh,
can't
without
find it.
permission, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so somebody was riding. Interesting. Now, here's one last quick question here. Do we shoot interviews like this or do we shoot interviews like this?
Well, she shot it this way.
I shot him the wrong way. My first time.
You know what, though, the thing, and I will applaud you for it, you were nice and close, so the sound was good.
Yeah,
But think of it this way, I know we live in an Instagram world where we shoot like this, but this is video.
Well, I was just proud of myself. I stood there that whole time with
Right.
my cell
that
phone,
was good.
videoing
It was
with
amazing.
my cell phone in one hand and the camera in the other hand, taking pictures. I am proud.
shake.
No,
It was
Still,
it
it
was
was
still-
stable.
it was still,
I'm
and
impressed.
every one of my photos turned out too. So I am so proud of myself. Never gonna do that again.
Next time, put your camera on a tripod.
That's.
Yes, there you go.
Who knows about TikTok? You know, this TikTok, they keep saying that those verticals are TikTok, that's all they do. I don't know.
It's
I've never
TikTok
seen
or
it.
Instagram. It's
Instagram.
most, I would say most 20 somethings.
You can do it either way.
That's the
but-
way they shoot it because that's the way they hold their phone.
Oh, yeah.
It's easier.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier, but we don't turn the TV doesn't turn like this. We watch TV like this.
So basically, when you're doing Instagram or TikTok, you've got two bars on the side of a vertical picture.
Well, no, I understand.
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah,
something
yeah.
that they require.
No, they
I
don't.
think, I think, I think the good thing though about the way Monica shot that is I was able to put
Right.
accompanying images and
Right.
everything to go along with the
Yeah, it
story.
actually kind of.
Well, now the other thing you can do too, though, is if you shot it as a horizontal, you can crop the image in the editor and make it a vertical.
Is that a new skill set I need to master?
It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. So anyway, but it's a way to do it. But I thought that was very effective, having the video and the stills together like that. It really was.
I'm impressed with the quality of the phone shots.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my God, they are just spot on perfect.
Samsung Android, 25G.
Well, there you go. Does anybody have anything else on that video from our Zoomers? Are we good? We know we're gonna send that to Chuck Hill, because I know he's gonna love that.
Yeah.
He's probably already got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
probably.
this is the world premiere.
Okay.
World premiere.
All right.
No, that's a
Well,
good
thank
job.
you for that. Really nice job.
That's
Tom.
really nice.
It's really, to think that you've come from PowerPoint to that is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So there you go. Well, no, that's, he always said he's Mr. PowerPoint, so. Anyway, all right, well, Gene, why don't you tell us about your video that you
Okay,
got?
well, you know, I was chasing ghosts in that last one that I did about Idlewild. And basic comment was that I repeated myself, so I decided to tell another story about a ghost town. And we won't repeat in this one. And Michigan Public Television and a museum in Benton Harbor, Michigan donated some of the stuff in it. I was able to fudge it together and make a nice little show out of it. I will tell you before you watch it, the last 45 seconds is just a placeholder. I
Okay,
want to redo that ending, but I simply didn't have time.
Is that
okay.
you on the left?
Yeah. Right.
God, all right.
In this video, we're ghost hunting again. We're not hunting ghosts of the paranormal nature, but historical ghosts. We're going to search for ghosts who wanted life everlasting. Come with us, and visit the House of David in Benton Harbor, Michigan, where thousands sought paradise on earth, and life everlasting.
During the 19th century, Americans experienced tremendous religious fervor throughout the country. People were trying to cope with their newfound freedoms won from a bloody Revolutionary War. Many new interpretations of Christianity were now being practiced, from the Shakers of New England to the exodus of the Mormons through the great western deserts. By the 1890s, while the country was still recovering from the horrors of our Civil War, more and more people were drawn to millennialism, those who believed in the second coming of Christ and his 1,000-year reign of peace on earth.
Ye shall not round the corners of thy head, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 27.
In 1903, an Ohio farmer named Benjamin Purnell awakened from an extraordinary dream. A white dove had perched on his shoulder, he said, and proclaimed him the sixth son of the house of David, empowered to unite the lost tribes of Israel in advance of Judgment Day.
The House of David story has fascinated the minds of millions for over a century. It was a place in Michigan that was surrounded by mystery, religion, romance, baseball, travel, sex or lack thereof, scandal, and huge wealth. It was all based on an unusual religious colony that called themselves the House of David. Their leader and founder, Benjamin Purnell, preached that he was teaching the way to have eternal life of the body and the way to live forever on earth.
As they tell it, they wandered for 7 years. But they were preaching. They were preaching this idea that Benjamin was the seventh messenger and that the day of reckoning or the millennium is close at hand. They wind up in Fostoria, Ohio, where they gathered a few converts to their way of thinking.
They came to Benton Harbor, Michigan in late 1902 for the purpose of meeting the Boschke brothers, Louis and Albert Boschke, to finance the beginning of the House of David Park.
And Benton Harbor looked like a good location for them to start this colony. Part of Benjamin and Mary's preaching was that if you follow us as the seventh messenger, you will have an eternal life.
Converts traveled from afar to hear the message, and many would join their colony, giving up all their worldly possessions in exchange for the promise of everlasting life.
Right away, they are able to start building, farming some land. They had a few followers that came with them and a few that they gained.
The House of David was intended to be an ingathering of the Jezreelite faith for people to come here from around the world to gather together, and 144,000 chosen people would live or step into paradise together.
They came from all corners of the globe to see what they were being told was paradise on earth.
It must have just seemed like a paradise to them, you know, because farming is hard work. But then when you have people and it's a working colony and they're all together, you know, and they all have a purpose and all of this, you know, it just seemed, I think it just seemed right to them.
Those that joined spoke of feeling like they were at the gates of heaven as they arrived to trumpets and bands playing. Everyone in beautiful attire, magnificent horse and carriages, and elaborate mansions to call home. They flocked in by the thousands, and many would make their lives there forever. What began in early 1903 as a place of a new exciting Christian faith soon became so much more.
There's a famous picture of 85 Australians that joined on the same day, coming out of the ship canal in Benton Harbor, heading to the House of David, and they're playing musical instruments and singing, and amongst those people were actors and actresses and vaudeville talent. And so as people flocked in, they not only had massive amounts of members, but they had massive wealth, massive talent in music and all kinds of industries. And so that's how they grew and grew.
They had this idea that they were going to build an amusement park. Part of the reason was they had an ice cream parlor behind their Jerusalem building, and they were already attracting curiosity seekers. And that ice cream parlor was becoming an attractive nuisance. So if we could put it across the street in an amusement park, we can sort of kill two birds with one stone. We can make money on the tourist, and we can create housing and so forth for the impending ingathering.
They built so much. They had their own steamships and trolley cars and bus lines and hotels and restaurants and park hotel. They built the amusement park with the help of the Australian people that came in. Because of their brains, they knew about that type of thing.
Visitors arrived by the tens of thousands per week, and soon the House of David was one of the leading amusement parks in all the country. It would ultimately entertain nearly 100 million visitors before its demise.
Music was a fact of everyday life for the House of David members. It was a part of their personal life and integral to their worship. It was used for social functions and commercial enterprise. Their music reflected their heritage and expressed their religious values. It enabled personal growth and the achievement of communal goals. Almost every Israelite was involved in some form of musical expression. Adults played in men's bands and ladies' bands. Children played in children's bands. They formed comedy musical acts, string bands, marching bands, jazz bands, and dance orchestras. By the early 1920s, popular music in the U.S. was undergoing a jazz revolution. It appears that the 20-piece House of David Road Band was playing jazz no later than 1919. Late in 1920, the band reorganized as two 10-piece bands to focus exclusively on playing jazz. The House of David Blues was published in 1923 by a writing team headed by Elmer Schobel. Together they wrote many of the most popular jazz tunes of that era. For over a half century, the music of the House of David provided entertainment to the public, gaining fame nationally through the traveling vaudeville circuits of the 1920s and 30s. The colony's music industry was a major component of their economic success, which in turn had a significant impact on the development of Southwest Michigan. During the first half of the 20th century, the fame of the House of David was based as much on its musical talents as on any other facet of its organization. Traveling the world by train, bus, and boat, the House of David bands were managed by two different people. The orchestras were led by Manna Woodworth. The bands and memorable talent shows were led by Master of Ceremonies, Chick Bell. Having played before every U.S. president from Woodrow Wilson through President Gerald Ford, these House of David bands and orchestras were known around the globe as some of the most talented and entertaining musicians ever to walk the stage. America's obsession with baseball was influencing many of the young men at the colony, so Benjamin built yet another attraction, their very own ball field adjacent to the park. It was first used by a local team, the Speed Boys, managed by promoter Floyd Fitzsimmons. A second story of seats were added so the colony women could attend in their own gendered section. In 1914, the House of David sported their first team, which was managed by Francis Thorpe, a talented athlete from Iowa. At first, they played pickup games with local clubs, honing their skills and teamwork for future traveling competition.
By 1915, the House of David ball team was a profit-making endeavor. The ball club really excelled, and in only their second season, player-manager Francis Thorpe led his team on to win the Berrien County Championship. With the beginning of the 1917 season, the House of David had joined the Intercity Baseball Association of Chicago. Now the team could expand their competition by playing semi-pro clubs in Southwest Michigan, Northern Indiana, and naturally, teams in the Windy City. At the end of their first season as a traveling team, the House of David won the league championship. Their claim to fame in baseball history was underway. They were featured in Spalding's Baseball Guide of 1917 and in the 1919 New York Times. By now, even the young ladies of the colony were playing, and they were sensational, usually beating all comers. They were undefeated in their 1919 season. This was due to the fact that 6 of their players just happened to be young men. Look closely at the players standing behind the girls on the bench. They are Arthur Jackson and Dwight Zeke Boschke. Zeke would soon move up to the 1920 men's team, as seen in this photo. Baseball was an exciting attraction, with their home games drawing capacity crowds. The locals loved these bearded beauties. But despite all this fun with the national pastime, the colony would soon face controversy and scorn.
1920s saw Purnell and the community face charges of fraud and immorality. Following his death in 1927, the colony struggled until a split occurred in 1930. The divided communities survived for years before eventually declining due to an aging membership.
What's left of the House of David? Tours are no longer given. Only a few members survive. And they aren't giving interviews. There is a House of David museum, which contributed material for this project. We do have some footage from urban explorers who illegally entered the compound. When the current House of David survivors pass away, the House of David holdings will pass to the state of Michigan. It seems that the old adage about death and taxes trumps life everlasting.
It's incredibly difficult to get into the place. We did make a little ride out there during the summer, but they have it all fenced. They have security guards and dogs.
Oh, really?
So you went out there?
Yeah, we couldn't get in. Then I found these kids who said, "Oh, we can get in." We got in. We're on YouTube here, and he gives me the link. And so that's where the end product came from. But there are probably 25 mansions on the property. I'm talking about these gigantic houses. A couple of them been torn down, most of them are in ill repair. There are 3 living members of the House of David left as of last summer.
So.
What a story.
Register of historic places.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's on the, it is a historic place in Michigan. It's interesting that, because nobody knows the story. The only reason I knew about it and started looking for it when I was a little kid, probably, it had to be late 40s, early 50s. My grandmother had a restaurant, you know, one of those kind where they just serve breakfast and lunch kind of things, like Maria's. Anyway, she had a place like that. And I came in, I used to sneak in there and get a free lunch all the time. And I came in. That was funny. I came in one day to read baseball players with long hair sitting at the stools having lunch. So I was fascinated and just watching these guys. Well, they were the House of David ball team, and they were in to play the locals. They were a touring team. They were like the Harlem Globetrotters. Sure. They would stand around the field and toss the baseball.
You got into the tail end.
Tail end kind of thing. And the one guy did like this, and I walked over and he said, "You like baseball?" And he handed me 4 tickets to the game, you know. So I knew that much. But they owned Beaver Island. They logged it for the furniture industry in Grand Rapids. They had a controlling interest in Whirlpool. They had a huge interest in Packard Motor Car. Their money was incredible, and it's all gone. I mean, it's not gone. The state's going to get it all.
So there's still money.
There's still money. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
wow.
There's an estate, even though the property's fine. And they don't give any interviews anymore. Or they have one building they open for tours, Shiloh House, a couple times a year. The House of David Museum opens. But Benton Harbor followed the House of David down the drain.
Okay.
So,
Yes,
yeah.
Benton Harbor did.
It's just
On the
gone.
other side of the river, St. Joe
Right, it's wealthy.
is wealthy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Benton Harbor could afford to have their streetlights turned on last year.
Wow.
And I'm serious. Their schools were bankrupt. It's just pathetic. I firmly believe their fortune was tied to this. You know, it's just gone.
Location, where is this located?
This is southeastern Michigan, about 45 miles out of Chicago.
So,
Down here.
Yeah, it's
A lot
like,
of people.
for Essence could be a suburb of Chicago almost.
Abandoned homes and so forth,
Pardon?
abandoned houses and.
Yeah,
But all fenced off.
yeah. You can't get into any of it much.
Benton Harbor, very poor community, very much like Baldwin Lake County,
Yeah.
same thing.
Now, was your video, Gene, was that a compilation?
Yeah, it was a compilation of stuff I pulled from the
Okay.
museum, from a couple other sites, and I was just lucky. But none of it went in the sequence that's in the video. You know, I've moved everything
Sure.
around to tell a story. You know, most of it did, and it was just a neat story. You know,
I think that's the thing that is amazing about something like that is unless you're from the area,
yeah,
you know about these things, but we being outsiders have no idea. To see all the things that they were doing and how big this was is amazing.
Well, they're
But I never knew about the House of David
Until you're film, thank you.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of people have no idea.
The Lansing area, I know about Michigan State, I know about University of Michigan, but I certainly didn't know. about
The big scandal, their big scandal was that the founder was supposed to have had sex with underage girls.
Oh, boy.
You know that story. And it went to trial, but
What a surprise.
Is that give you? But when it went to trial, nothing came out of it. None of the 13 girls actually testified that they had anything to do with him. And so they charged him with fraud. Because he took all the people's money who came to the house of David and promised them life everlasting, but he couldn't produce. That's what I on the day, no, you know. So, but he died before the trial was over and nothing ever came out of it except some really good press, you know.
So Gene, is this the group?
Yes, they proved the fraud.
Is their demise based on the fact they all took an oath of celibacy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Where it
So
says
it
it
seems like
descended, there were people who left the cult.
Sure.
But they are no longer eligible for the holdings of the cult.
And they weren't celibate.
No, obviously. That's probably why they're not. Right along with the Catholic priest, they know. Okay.
So
Hey,
Gene,
Gene, I was gonna try and say that that's almost like public radio, public TV quality. You put that together so nicely. I'm gonna guess that you wrote some of the narration and had it read with one of your
Yes.
audio things, which sounded great.
Yeah, we did that with ClipChamp, which is Windows built-in video editor, and it has a point in there where you can make it read from text. But for it to not sound robotic, you really have to do some adjustments on this. I found out.
Yeah.
You gotta play with it.
You gotta pay $10 for that.
Yeah, you gotta play with that.
Yeah.
But no, it worked out great. Most of the narration was done through ClipChamp.
So how'd you get John Chancellor in there? Was that
It was part of the House of
original?
Museum, the House of David Museum had film archives. And they're online, you can just go there. And from what I understand, none of that is copyrighted because I learned two things in the process. Movie previews are usually not copyrighted. So you might not be able to show clips out of the movie, but you can get away with a lot of shit on them previews. Because they just, for some reason, they want them to be out there floating around.
Actually, they are copyrighted.
Yeah, but they
But what
don't.
they do is that they set a time limit on their use, but nobody ever enforces it.
Okay.
Todd, you had a question?
well, it's on the narration. And to me, I still hear the
Yeah,
the mechanical part of it. It seems that it could use a warmer type voice in there instead of the
Newscaster.
I can hook you up with Audrey.
Can't have that.
Maybe you could split it, Tom, then it'd only be $5.
There you go.
What you had to do with this kind of technology is it had to strike a balance between how bad I sound and how bad the robots. And so then you kind of say, oh, okay, I'll take the robot. It's just,
You've got a good voice.
yeah, but it's interesting. It really was. But what I was trying to do here, most of it flowed pretty nice. The last one, as Bill reminded me, told the story, repeated it, you know. So this one, I took all these film clips, still pictures, narrations, and then tried to rearrange them together in a story. So mostly this was the art of rearranging already existing stuff.
Sure.
But still, it was pretty cool.
It's a good job.
Yeah. So I made it for Showtime.
Sure.
That's what it's made of. You know.
Chuck will be happy.
There are several stories like this in Arizona on a small scale.
Yeah,
In that time period in the late 1800s, this was a big movement worldwide. And there's one here called Sunnyside.
Oh,
And
really?
it was a cult, and they got everybody to come in and give them all their money. And this is the 19th century. But there's something left. I've been there. There are things left. So there are stories like this, but not on this scale.
No, this is huge.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's just huge. Just for an aside, Babe Ruth played on their baseball team.
Wow.
Satchel Paige played on their baseball team. Yeah, they made him a member for a week. They made him a member for a week so that the two of them could play in this championship that was worth thousands of dollars somewhere in the Midwest. And both of them played because the House of David didn't have any problem with blacks playing in their baseball team before it was acceptable across the country. So
I love
they
the
picked up-
female team with the two male.
Yeah. They were not about cheating, obviously.
There's a lot of stories there.
Yeah, and the one here that fascinates me, and when you mentioned local Arizona, Arcasani, do you know where it is?
Sure.
The city of the bells.
Yeah.
I think there's a story.
You've ever been there?
No.
Oh, it's a bizarre place.
It sounds like a field trip, Monica.
It does?
Arcasani
You guys
County.
don't know about Arco Sante?
No.
Oh my God.
No, I'll need to get information about it.
It's another one of these cult things founded by an Italian architect, I believe.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And
Who's that?
it's called the City of the Bells because their fundraiser was they cast and sold bells.
And they still do.
Do they? Oh, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
They have
you
a
can buy
festival there
bells.
every year.
What's that?
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you say,
Well,
Tom?
he said there's
They
a
have a
festival.
festival there.
Yeah, it's just a bizarre.
It's
place.
right where it's right off of Interstate 17, literally only a few miles off. You can see it from Interstate 17 at the intersection where you go up to Prescott.
It's a giant concrete city. Well, I should say giant. It's it's very, you've been there, right, Jim? No, I thought you were traveling around. No, sir, no, yeah, Arco Sante, it's,
Arcasani.
and there's, is not like guided tours or whatever, you just go there and you just go around and people look at you. It's a strange place.
Wow. Maybe have some gummies and then go walk around.
Oh,
Well, that's what the waitress in the restaurant told me about this. We were having coffee and I said, do you know anything about the House of David? She goes like this. You don't want to go there.
The Arco Sante's got
Your
some
story about
interesting
the.
photos just up on Google
Oh, yeah.
Maps or Google Earth too. Or just just do a web search. Like you guys mentioned, those buildings are just fascinating.
Oh,
That
we'll
was-
definitely have to check that out. That sounds pretty good.
What does it refer to?
He was at Arcasani,
Arco Sante,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to be the city of the future,
Okay.
and it's
It
all.
was a hippie community in the 70s.
Yeah,
Okay.
it really was, yeah. But I had a lot of professionals, doctors, lawyers, people that gave up their life to go there, gave them their money and. But I don't think it's a cult so much.
No,
It's just kind of a weird thing.
commune.
Yeah.
Commune. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Gene, for that.
That was interesting.
That was very good. All right, I got
That was
one to
fun.
share, and this will wrap up the day's festivities. This was, yes, Doug?
Doug has the floor. Can you turn this to full screen? Possible?
I can, but what's gonna happen is when they are seeing it, they're gonna see these gray bands
All right.
wherever the top is, so that's why
That's all
I'm
right.
minimizing
Turn
it.
full screen.
Okay. Oh, you don't care about that. But this, I did a little slideshow for a neighbor that had a VBRO last year. And basically they've got a rental house here in the neighborhood and my neighborhood. And so it worked out great. Well, one of the suggestions that Phil had, which was a great suggestion, was putting the room names in where each room was. Because what I tried to do was go around the house and show different rooms so that people could see what they'd be renting. And so I did that, and that actually worked out great. So what I've done for Equine Voices, they have a little place out at their facility called Gulliver's House. It's named for one of the horses. And so basically I wanted to do the same kind of a little slideshow. So this is just a quick little 2-minute slideshow.
And it's a nice place.
Yeah, so people can rent that out and then they can stay, you can be around the horses and stuff, so.
I didn't remember I gave you that suggestion, but it was a good one.
That's why I did it.
But it was a good
So
But
Kevin,
it's a selling point.
Yes.
yeah, where is that located on the property? Is that just as you drive in, where, is that like a double wide or whatever that they had used for office and that kind of stuff?
You know, I don't know originally, what, Monica, would you know more about? I know where it's at. If you look just quickly at the property, if you look at it, Google Earth, it would be in the southwest corner of the property.
Mhm.
So where the visitor center is now, that would be on the far northeast side.
Grace, do you know where the gift shop is?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to the gift shop and keep walking south, you run right into it.
Okay, it's not a new structure, it's a repurposed building, or did they build it for that?
No, I think it's a new structure.
Ah,
Basically, it's a mobile home.
Yeah.
But it's new. So
Okay.
I think they've only had it there for about a year, maybe year and a half, if
that's
that.
why I wouldn't have seen it then, because I haven't been down out there for a couple of years, yeah.
The one thing I would add is a view of this Santa Rita's from the deck.
Sure.
That is what really, because sitting on that deck and
I
you're
would agree.
looking right at the Santa Rita's, it's like the view is awesome. If you my first thought is okay, I'm in if I go and stay there, am I surrounded by horses and is it gonna smell? You know? How close am I to the
Yes,
to
yes.
something? It's the view of the mountains
Sure.
that just.
I would agree with that,
Okay.
and I think when I did that, we were doing the secondary interviews, and it was during the daytime. And so there was no light on the Santa Rita's. That would be an afternoon shot. That's why, like, Todd had gone out and did that drone shot at the beginning in the
Mhm.
afternoon.
Mhm.
And I definitely thought about that, or thought about doing a shot maybe on a little table, put a bottle of wine with some glasses and stuff, and kind of do something like that.
Kier's got lots of wine.
So
You do know you have a camera and a tripod in the picture.
I know that. I did not Photoshop that out.
Yeah, that's surprising.
By the way, and as well, you saw the picture of Gulliver in there?
I did.
That's Monica's photo. So on the TV and the TV shot,
On the TV,
if I go
yeah,
back,
I saw
if I
that.
go back real quick.
Good
put
product
that in?
placement.
Yeah, I did that because to me, I always, if ever I see a TV,
Yeah, that's
there it
good.
is.
That's a good.
I always wanna have something on the TV. I hate seeing a blank screen.
It's a nice touch.
So in Photoshop, just went in, I took one of her photos, added that with Gulliver, and so initially I had another shot, maybe one of Linda's, and I put this together and I said, okay, this is good, but this is Gulliver's house, so we need a shot of Gulliver. So anyway, I used Monica's photo for that. That worked out nicely.
It's too bad.
Where is this gonna be shown?
They've got it on their website, and at some point, probably, I like Monica's idea, and that's something that I can revisit in terms of going out and shooting a photo. Or somebody in this group can go out and shoot a photo and I'll add it. But on the deck and stuff. You could take that wine, you could open that wine up, and you might sit there for a few hours afterwards and enjoy a nice bottle of wine.
Well, I don't know if people know, but Linda and I have been taking pictures of all of the horses out there because they send Christmas cards to the sponsors and the people who donate or have an interest in a particular horse out there. And so we've been taking eye shots, we've been taking noses shots. This shot of Gulliver where he's walking on the TV, what it doesn't show, and I didn't, is that he comes right up to the camera and sticks his nose. And I'm glad we had those what do they call those things on the front to the shadow? Those things that protrude.
The
Sunshade, sunshade.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's, thank God for sunshades, because I would have been cleaning my camera constantly because all the horses. We've got
Good.
noses.
There you go.
They're curious, but
Well, thank you. Well, so anyway, that was a lot of fun to do that, and we'll tweak that up some more, and we'll,
When we're on the subject of this group, I need some help. We have gotten tons of members who want to learn how to make a slideshow.
sure.
And I need somebody to volunteer to figure out and teach a very simple class on how you make your still pictures into a slideshow. So drop me a note, let me know, and we'll set up a date and time and you know, put it on the registration list. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. These are mostly, almost all new people that are
Sure.
plugged ads. And they want to take probably, you know, their holiday pictures and everything, put them into a slideshow.
It'd be interesting to find out from these people what platform they are on,
Yeah.
be it a Mac or a PC, because that obviously is gonna
Yeah,
make
yeah,
a
we can
difference
do that.
too.
We can have them when they register, let you know which one it is.
All right, everybody. Does anybody have anything else for the order today? If
Well,
not,
I thought that was a nice program. What I did notice is that the music comes to an abrupt stop at the end. And if it were me, I would fade it out more.
it is faded out. It's got a 2-second fade out. So
Maybe longer.
I'll have to listen to it again, Chuck.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'm getting busted for audio. This is not a good thing. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate your coming today, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Hope that everybody has a good week. We need people to have some stuff. So please get out there and shoot, create something, and share it with us. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.